Hey guys, it's Kay McCutcheon, your host of TheAgSpace, and today I get to interview Rege Constructions' top 2 vineyard managers. I think that's all I gotta say. Let's get into this. All right. So, why don't you guys tell me a bit about yourselves?
So I'm Nick. I'm from Cloverdale. Went to Cloverdale High as well. Went to college up at Oregon State. I actually studied viticulture there. It was beautiful up there. The vineyard is actually my passion. It's a lot of fun to work in it. And yeah.
Yeah, my name is Rege. From Cloverdale. Went to school at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for construction management, but grew up farming grapes. My dad farmed grapes, and my grandpa and my great grandpa. So I got stuck into it. But yeah, that's fun. It's a fun hobby slash occupation to be in.
So, I know the company that you guys work for, does a lot of like vineyard, like making vineyards, right?
Like improvements.
Yeah. I know you guys do a lot about that. Can you guys tell me about that?
Yeah, so that's a nice thing about this area. We get to being a construction company, we do a lot of site development, land clearing, ripping, and then we build a lot of reservoirs for vineyard developments. So it's kind of cool being in construction. We get to get our hands in the vineyard industry quite a bit and get to know a lot of uh, business professionals and all
All right. Is there like you guys have like a certain grape preference or for
for drinking or for growing.
for both?
I love a good Cabernet Sauvignon. Then the whites.
Yeah, for whites, I like Sauvignon Blanc for drinking and growing, actually. You have to be 21, of course. Of course. um, Sauv Blanc is a really easy grape to work with. Um, it grows really well, really vigorous, has good yields. In terms of red grapes, I really like Pinot, but that's in part because I went to school in Oregon and their focus up there is Pinot. They like the cooler climates. It's like Anderson Valley, Boonville area is really beautiful for Pinot. Um, I just like Pinot's kind of funky. It's not the same every year, so it has different shapes leaves. It's kind of a wild card in terms of growing. So Pinot's a lot of fun.
What would you guys say is your winery contract challenges? Would you guys say you guys have a lot of those?
Yeah, extremely. Yeah. Um, it's tough nowadays because there's just so much production and stuff like that, and the market gets flooded with products. So it's a roller coaster. Some years you could sell them. Some years it's tough. Some years you can get a good contract, and others you're just scratching try to get it sold. So it's all over the place. And it just comes back to like relationships. The more relationships you have, the more people you know. Um, and if you got a good quality product, it's easier to get away if you start getting a name for yourself. Definitely.
What would you say is like the typical contract year span?
Yeah. So a lot of times, um, if you're growing good grapes and a winery knows it and it's getting into their wine blend every single year, they want to keep you. So they could put you on a 5 to 10 year plan. They could put you on a everlasting plan that kind of renews every year if they really like your grapes. But like Zach was saying, sometimes there's a really big influx in really big years, and sometimes there's grapes that really aren't available. When there's a lot of grapes and the market is saturated, you're not going to get your contracts as easy. People are going to be dropping you. But when there's not enough grapes, um, then you're going to get contracts easier. It also depends on the varietal. Like Cabernet, there's a lot of Cabernet being planted. So when there's too much Cabernet planted and you have Cabernet, it's going to be really hard to keep getting contracts maybe 10, 15 years from now. So if you're trying to think outside of the box, you want to find the varietal that's like up and coming. What's going to be the new popular variety that there's not a surplus of. And that kind of is a good way to guarantee that you're going to have a contract because you're not in that saturated market.
Yeah, I'd just say like probably an average contracts between 2 to 5 years, probably majority of the time.
You guys kind of walk me through the process of getting a vineyard from plant to selling, like from planting to selling.
So do you want like from right when you plant the grape all the way until it hits the winery?
Yeah, can you guys kind of just walk me through that process?
Okay, so first you got to have site improvements like we do at the construction company. You got to make sure you have water. You got to have a good location with lots of ample sun. The soil really needs to have good filtration, like it can't be too swampy. And really that's what makes a good wine is its soil. So soil is really important. So once you have your site improvements, you set up your entire trellis system like we have here, the wires and the posts, and that's a lot. That's a pretty big cost putting that in. So once you have all this trellising in, you'll put your plants in, and then that plant is going to have to grow and be taken care of for the next 2 to 3 years before you ever get to harvest any grapes off that vine. So that's why it's difficult to get into the wine industry, because you don't really see a return until 3 or 4 years down the road. But once this plant here, this is a 2-year plant?
2-year-old plant.
Yeah, so this 2-year-old plant next year will actually produce a crop we can take. And then from there on out, you'll be getting a crop. Should be increasing in yield for the next 2 to 3 years. And then you're just at mercy for the weather and what Mother Nature's given you. Yeah, and then you pick them. It really depends on the year. Could be from anywhere from August to November. We picked in November this year. And you put them in bins and ship them off to the winery.
Would you say that like return time for your guys' yield would be probably the biggest challenge in growing a vineyard?
I would say so. That would be the hardest thing for someone to get into growing grapes is the return time, or affording land to even plant a vineyard, considering how expensive property is around here, because most big companies already own all the land that you could plant vineyard on. So that'd be a really big hurdle as well.
Would you say there are any other big challenges other than those two?
Mother Nature. You're at the will of Mother Nature. It's farming, but that's kind of half the fun of it. It's not different. It's not the same every year. You got to overcome challenges, and if you like problem solving, it's a good thing to be in.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. I think that's about all the questions I have for you guys. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks, guys. Thanks.
In this episode of the Ag Space, we got to learn a lot about vineyard management from Rege Constructions' top 2 vineyard managers. I think they taught us a lot about grape production and how to manage a vineyard. I'll see you guys on the next episode of the Ag Space.